it's Shel C from Paper Octio Studio, and I know I haven't put out a video for a week. I've been laying around feeling sorry for myself, so I decided to get up today and do something. I've been thinking that when people are drawing faces, which I've been trying to practice faces, all anyone ever seems to draw is big-eyed, full-lipped, pouty-looking little girls. And there's lots of other people besides those whimsical, little girls that could be drawn. And so I decided to challenge myself to draw some males today. And I started out with just sketching on a piece of text paper that was on my desk, and I was drawing a guy, and then I decided, you know what? I'm going to make a journal page. So I got out the camera and turned it on so that I could share with you. And then I got out my jelly journal. This journal is one that I made myself that just has a bunch of jelly prints in it as pages. It's a good place to start. I picked one out and then I started to play with it. Most of the pages I have left were pink, so I had to pick one that was mostly black, and I added a little bit more black around the edges, and then I'm just putting some white gesso in one spot where I'm going to draw a face, which is my first attempt at drawing a guy's face. I don't know. As I look at it, I'm not sure I love it, but it's okay. It's a good try for a first guy face. And I'm officially challenging everyone out there in YouTube who draws all those cute little girls to try and draw a guy or someone older or someone, you know, heavier or different. Try something different because all we're doing is just drawing these little girls all the time. So I was just working on my background to start with, and I decided on orange and blue complementary colors to be my color scheme, which seemed guy enough. I didn't want to use pink and purple in my normal things because it just wasn't stereotypically guy. There are guys out there who like pink and purple, I'm sure, but you know what I'm saying. I was trying to go with guy colors. So I've got a dark background, and then I was just wanting to use very angular shapes, not anything real rounded. And so I picked a brick pattern and then a harlequin diamond pattern. And then in the space where I just threw on a little bit of white gesso, I'm going to try sketching a face. Things that I thought about when I was trying to draw a guy. It seems as though they have more angular jaws. Women's faces seem more round and soft, and I thought guys had more angular jaws, and so I tried to do that. I tried to not make big eyes. I tried to make smaller eyes because I always want to draw those huge eyes, which aren't even realistic. They're whimsical, but I'm still always drawing those, and so I tried to make my eyes smaller and more realistic, although this is obviously not a realistic drawing. I'm not a realistic drawing sort of person. I know there are people out there who are awesome at duplicating a photograph and making a drawing that looks exactly like it. I'm not one of those people. And I probably never will be. Even if I get better at drawing, I won't be drawing those type of things just because they don't really appeal to me. I like to see it when other people do, but I really have no interest in doing it myself. I also thought that the nose should be wider. I tend to make little teeny tiny noses on my whimsical girl faces, and so I tried to make it something wider. And then the lips needed to be more narrow, not big pouty lips. These are the things that I thought about as I was trying to draw this. I put ears on him because if he's going to have short hair, which, I mean, I love a guy with long hair, let me tell you, I really do. But most guys have short hair, so I tried to give him shorter hair. It's still kind of like a fringe or something. It's definitely not a buzz cut or anything, but shorter hair, so then that meant the ears would show. So I needed to draw the ears. I didn't want to put a lot of detail in it. This isn't a very detailed drawing at all. It's mostly just shapes and colors and shading. trying to give the impression of a guy. And I'm not sure that I succeeded. You guys can tell me if I did or didn't. It might just still look like a female. I don't know. As I look at it, you know, it's one of those things. I made it today. Maybe tomorrow it'll look better. I'm not sure. So then I decided to use acrylic paint, which isn't my normal method of doing faces. I usually use a combination of water-soluble crayons and acrylic, but I'm just going to do this all in acrylic. And I made a skin tone mix using the white gesso that was on my palette already, and then some burnt sienna and yellow ochre. I just kind of mixed those together to make kind of a peachy, you know, medium skin tone color. Peachy, yeah. And then I used that to base coat the whole thing, and trying to cover up the splotchiness of my gesso plus some of the little pattern on the edges there. Get rid of it, cover it up. Sometimes I let the patterning show through, but this time I didn't want to. I was really trying to focus on making this face and making it look as masculine as I could. I need a lot more practice, believe me. Then I'm just doing some lighter spots, blending the gesso in with the still wet acrylic skin tone stuff. And like I said, I think I said, if I didn't say it, I was using the complementary colors of orange and blue on the page, so I'm going to use those paints as well to do the shading. Just putting a coat of gesso on the hair to cover up the patterns and things that are there. I made a rhyme. And then I decided, well, that's what drawing I would do a little bit of collage. So I took the little sketchy sketch that I was making and tore it out. Decided to put that on the page since that's where the whole thing started. I was trying to draw abs and, you know, the rounded shapes of what guys' muscles look like. Yeah. It's a process. This is my process. I hope everyone else starts this process and makes guys too. Please do it. I want to see them. I'm sure you can do better than me. So I just went ahead and collaged on some pieces of that text just for more interest, because I was putting down that piece of text anyway, so might as well tear up the rest of it and add it. Sure, why not? And then I got out some more of that blue. That's, I think it's called Postbox Blue. It's a Dilutions paint. And I just picked a couple Dilutions colors. I think the other one's maybe Tangerine. And then just white gesso. And I guess a few of my Liquitex Basics colors. But mostly just those. So I added in the blue where the shadows of his face would be, and then I'm blending it back in with the skin tone color that I made. He looks kind of angry. You know, you've got your stages. When you're doing faces and you're doing your layers, there's always an ugly stage, and I'm not sure he got out of the ugly stage. I don't know. But I did eventually call it done. For those of you interested, this page took me an hour 50 minutes, and so I've sped it up in some places 8 times, in some places 4 times, to get it down to near 20 minutes, which is what I try to make my max. Occasionally I might make something that's 30 minutes if it's really a ridiculously long thing, but usually I try to do 20 minutes as my target for what people will watch. And I know that you guys will fast forward through some of this anyway, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I don't care if you watch every second of it. So then I went in and added the orange, blending everything in again with the white gesso, and the white gesso for the highlighted areas where his face would stick out, and then also that skin tone I used for blending that in some cases too. Then I realized the hair had no color because I still just had white gesso on it, so I decided to add the orange into the hair, figuring that would be like a mid-tone. And then I would add deeper tones and highlights. Going back in with the blue again and just kind of blending it out, trying to deepen up my shadows again. Just basically going back and forth with these colors. I didn't really want to add any other colors. I did end up adding that sienna color that's on my palette eventually, just because it seemed to lack something, but I was trying to keep it really limited and primitive. His face ended up being rounder than I wanted. I wanted him to have a really strong square jaw, but I don't know, I couldn't get it to work. So I guess he turned out to be probably a teenager or young adult, because his face is still kind of round and babyish, which is why it still might look like a female. I'm not sure, just not sure, but I did my best. So here's where I'm adding in that sienna. I decided to add it into the hair as a darker tone, and then realize that I'm going to need to add it to the face as well, or else it's going to look really strange. So I added it in the shadow parts of the face and the eyebrows and things like that, underneath the neck. So you can see me just kind of pausing there and going, huh, what do I need to do? I'm not sure. I decided to add in the blue into the hair because it didn't have much blue in it. So I did the darkest tones of the hair in blue. And this is where you can tell it's not realistic. I mean, people don't have blue hair unless they've dyed it blue, or in some cases, people with that have really, really dark black hair, it looks blue in the sunlight. But blue and orange and sienna together, probably not. So it's just an impression. It's an impression of what someone might look like. Then I decided to go around the edges with a little bit of the black paint that's on my palette, because I have a few places where the gesso is peeking out underneath. So rather than going around it with a pen or something, I just added a shadow all the way around with black paint. And then I'm going back in and, excuse me, redefining my features using my graphite pencil to add them back in where I feel like things have gotten lost and been painted over. And I also still have my blending stump, aka tortilla, aka tortillion, which I do use several times during this process. I don't think I mentioned it. I did find it. It was lost there for a while. He almost looks like he has jowls. I don't know. His face is not the right shape for what I was going for. Lips might be too defined too. I don't know. I'm second guessing, third guessing, fourth guessing, 20th guessing what I was doing, because I'm my own worst critic. I bet most of you are your own worst critics too. Seems to be pretty common. Okay, so now I'm blending with my tortilla. One of these days I'm just going to get an actual tortilla out of the refrigerator and come and blend with it. It would probably work. Then I decided that his eyes have gotten too deeply lost inside underneath his brow bone, so I decided to add a little bit of highlight on the top of the lid, and then also up under the eyebrow where your brow bone sticks out. there needed to be a highlight there too. So that helps the eyes look more natural, I think. They were getting really dark in there. That heavy shadow along the nose I don't really like, but I never blended it out, so I guess it's still there. Trying to lighten up the lips a little bit, add a little bit of a highlight. And of course the tip of the nose. Then I go in and add some white highlights to the hair. His hair's kind of cool. I kind of like it. This is my Stabilo All pencil, which writes over anything, the black one. And I'm just redefining again, doing some more with his eyes, adding in a pupil, which I hadn't done yet. And then darkening up the nostrils. And under the chin, just trying to, you know, add a little black in to define where things are. Because it does have that black outline all the way around the outside. So I need to add some black in. If you're putting something somewhere on a page, you probably need to add that color in other places so that it looks more balanced. It's just kind of one of those weird little rules. Blending a little bit with my finger. I blend a lot with my finger these days. You should have seen my hands after this. I had to scrub them. I forgot to put on any liquid glove stuff. So they were a mess. So he has blue eyes because it just seemed like that was the theme of the page. Better make him blue. I'm pretty much done. I'm pretty close to being done with coloring him. And then I just need to finish up the background. Highlights in the eyes. Now I'm just taking my finger and doing a little bit of finger painting, blending in that piece of text paper with the sketch on it. I thought it looked like it needed to be blended into the page more rather than just stuck on there. So I do that with some blue and a little bit of the orange, and then I decide I'm going to use some black to kind of tone down those white text pieces. So I just kind of dry brush across it and then blend it with my finger and just kind of make them more of a grayish shadow rather than a bright white piece of paper. I think it works out pretty good. A little bit more dimension. And then of course the splatters. My fan brush was right there. I figured I needed to splatter. It's just kind of a rule. It's not a rule. Don't let me make you believe that. But I seem to splatter everything, so I like to splatter. Of course, I had to clean it off his face because I got it all over his face. And then I was like, well, okay, I need white splatters too. So I still had some leftover gesso. So I splattered some white as well. And drying. Then everything was kind of stuck to my little protective papers, which is good. That means it protected the pages underneath. Plus I had a few little things I needed to trim off. So that's what I'm doing now is trimming the tape that I put in the center of the page, and then also any little things that are hanging over the edges. Then I decide that I need something in that center space. I've got like kind of two focal points that aren't being broken up. So I look in my box of things that people have sent me in swaps and things like that. You know, people send extra things. Plus I have some of the little things. These are leftover from a project. These gears are leftover from a project. The G, I think, is something that someone sent me, which actually turned out to be perfect because G for guy, and then also teenagers in my house anyway say they sometimes call people G, like that's so G, or I think it stands for gangster, but that's not what we're going for here. We're going G for guy, not G for gangster. I'm not. I think that's what it means. I don't know. I don't use that terminology, but anyway, I had an extra G, so I decided to use it. So I'm sticking all this stuff down with Aileen's tacky glue. I'm not gonna bother trying to collage it or anything. And I also put some Inca gold on the gears, and they came out kind of a bronze color, which is what I was looking for. And they're shimmery, but in the pictures you can't see it. Here you can see it a little bit as I move around. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of detailing with my posca pins because it just wouldn't be finished if I didn't do that. So I decided to draw an outline around the big gear. And then I'm looking at it, what does it need? So I decided to make a black outline around the page with my pen, just kind of a sketchy border. And then I think I get out my white in a second, probably. My white posca pen, of course I do. Oh no, I decided to write guy stuff. Guy stuff. Then I get out my white and just pump up some highlights a little bit. And then that'll be it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it or comment or subscribe or whatever you want to do. Share it with your friends. And these are your close-ups, and I hope you enjoy them. Thanks. Bye-bye.